The show, that costume change happens under a minute, so it is all one piece connected with a zipper down the back to help her just like step in, zip up, and she's off to go. But the idea of it is a three-piece suit instead of a one-piece thing. So that's part of what I do here in the shop is take this design from a piece of paper and realize it, make it real, and put it into production, and make it functional for the needs of the show. It's one thing just to, I could have easily made 3 costume pieces, but we would have never made the change. It would have never ended up on stage. So that's a lot of what I do in here. I always say the designer oversees the art, I oversee the function. So I help them with budgeting, I help designers with local resources here in town of where to find things, especially our New York designers who don't know what we have here, and sometimes here means down to Modesto or out to the Bay Area or something of that nature. And then I also oversee the hiring in of our stitchers. So we can have up to about, usually no more than 7 people in here, but that includes myself, that includes the designer. We have a full-time tailor who's also our wardrobe supervisor. She typically does all of our menswear. All of the coats that Mary Poppins wears, she did all of those because she's just very good at that specific tailoring of the way the collars look and the sleeves are set in and things like that. And then we have what we call overhire stitchers, which are people that are part-time, and I'll call them up and they say, okay, well I can come in on Thursday and Friday, and I'll call someone else up and they'll say I can come in on Monday and Tuesday, and so it's a little bit of a shuffling game of okay, who's here today and who's going to do what jobs and what is our goals to get accomplished today. In the middle of all of that, and what I typically do while I'm here is this is my cutting table, and I cut all the fabric. So all the costumes in Supercalifragilistic, those were not something that you could just find out in the world. We made all of those costumes. So it was just days and days on the cutting table, okay, who's wearing the purple pants? Okay, what size are they? And who's wearing the pink shirt? And what size is she? And you have to cut everything specific to the actor's measurements. And so that's kind of all of my brain work that I'm figuring out. And in addition to, okay, now you make this shirt and you make these pants and you make whatever it is we're making. The actors come in for fittings. Where Ralph is here, you can see that this is our fitting room area. There's a pipe there with a curtain, so we can close it off. People can continue working out here while we're doing, kind of some modesty, private fittings going on behind the curtain. A 3-way mirror, and we mark hems, we fidget, make sure everything is just so that way, everyone looks really nice on stage. Or it looks horrible if they're supposed to look like chimney sweeps and all schlubby and dirty. So we get through all that, we get to Tech Week, which is the process of dress rehearsal week, and we take notes. The actors are on stage, they're wearing their costumes, and we make sure everything's working. The first time Super Cal went on stage, all the girls' shirts buttoned down the back, and we had just put snaps down the back of their shirts. And by the end of the number, because they're moving around so much, all the snaps had popped open. So all these girls are walking off stage with their back exposed. Luckily, there's no one in the audience, So I said, okay, those have to be real buttons, so they actually button up and they can't pop open. So the next day we came to the shop and put buttonholes and buttons and resewed all buttons on the shirts, and now we don't have any problems with that. But that's kind of the things that we discover in the rehearsal process. Once we get to that point, that's sort of, my job doesn't end there at opening night, but I start looking forward to the next show, and I kind of take a step back from the show that's going on. So I haven't been very involved with Mary Poppins. Our wardrobe supervisor, she takes over from there. I would say I'm in charge until opening, and she's in charge until closing. And she, twice a week, does all the laundry for the show. So you can imagine 6 shows a week is a lot, I got dressed today and I probably won't wear this dress again for another 2 or 3 weeks, right? But clothes on stage, they're wearing them 6 times a week, dancing, sweating under lights. It gets really hot and really, really gross. So a show like Mary Poppins, it takes her, we don't have any shows on Monday and Tuesday, so she does laundry all day Monday, all day Tuesday, irons all the men's shirts, does any repairs that needs to get done. My zipper is broken, my button fell off, whatever it happens to be, I split my seam under my arm, that kind of stuff. She does all of those repairs and, gets it all clean and fresh. We have someone come in and maintain all the wigs for the show. sends it back out on stage on Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday we do it all over again.
And I was going to say, you know, we were talking earlier about Matt Sweetland having to come in sometimes between shows to fix something or repair or whatever. Same thing happens here in the costume shop. If a hem comes out of a dress or you know, the seam rips or whatever, you know, there's notes that go out after every single show, and so Vina or Gerda
we're always on call.
Need to come in and take care of that.
So we're always on call throughout the weekend, and you know, whenever, you know, if there's a costume emergency, we're there to fix it. So some of the things we do, because again, not all of our clothes are, you know, we can't throw everything in the washing machine. Like some of that is dry clean only, and one of the ways that we handle that, because we don't have any 24-hour dry cleaners here in town, is that we do a lot of dry L kits, so we'll do the at-home dry cleaning. We also use vodka to clean our costumes, because vodka is an alcohol. It kills bacteria, so if things are getting a little, you know, festery, we spray it out, we put it outside to air out, and it dries odorless, and it kills any, it's like a natural Febreze. So if you ever don't feel like buying Febreze, we always just buy the bottom shelf vodka, put it in a spray bottle, spray everything out. So,
I agree. Good.
Two for the costume,
yeah,
one for me.
Yeah, that's all there. So,
Days are like that.
some of the other things that you should know at a costume shop is this is where our workspace is. Upstairs is storage. I call all the storage here at East Sonora accessory storage. So we have hats, purses, shoes, ties, belts, fabric. All of our patterns that we work with are upstairs, and we do have men's shirts upstairs. And then over in the basement of the Fallon House Theater is all of our costume storage, and it's huge. It's the entire underneath the ice cream parlor, and probably even part of the audience, like in the back underneath there is our costume storage. We have men's suits, period dresses, all organized by decade from the 1800s through modern time. We have Renaissance clothing, we have wedding dresses, we have vests and cardigans, and I mean, it goes on and on and on and on, pajamas and medical stuff. And so we have all of that over in the Fallon House basement, which is great because it means sometimes we don't have to build everything for a show. For example, with Mary Poppins, the only thing we made for the Jolly Holiday number is Bert and Mary's costumes. Everybody else came from our storage. So we have, you know, things that we repurposed from, you know, My Fair Lady or from Oklahoma, or, you know, we just sort of pull and match and then put those items back on stage in different combinations. So maybe you don't really realize that you're seeing the same clothes for more than one production.
I think one of the great talents that the staff here at the costume shop has is that they're able to take an existing costume, and let's say it's a dress with a certain type of skirt and bodice and sleeve and collar. They say, well, I really like this, the bodice and the sleeves and the collar, but I don't like that skirt. So off comes the skirt and they put something else on it. Or they like everything except the collar and the sleeve, so they take that off and put something else on it. And I think that's just so creative, very economical as well.
Yeah, a good example of that would be Little Jane's dress. Her first little yellow dress she wears was actually a dress from Sound of Music, the little girls' party dresses. We just chopped this. I have the sleeves laying on the washing machine in the back there, but we took the sleeves off, made them more Victorian style sleeves, and added a collar, and now it looks more Victorian than 1930s. So.
Do you handle shoes? The shoes fascinate me. Okay.
Yeah, we handle shoes. There's a lot. Sometimes with dance shows like this, for example, like Step In Time, almost all the actors had their own tap shoes. So we didn't have to worry about buying a whole bunch of tap shoes, just a couple of pairs to fill in holes. So sometimes the actors will use their own shoes if they have something appropriate. But for the most part, we provide everything you see on stage. We provide. The only thing I usually ask the actors to provide is their own personal undergarments, unless it's something that we're going to see, like when we have period undergarments, like bloomers and things like that. Then of course we're gonna give them bloomers, or we'll give them corsets if they need a corset for a show or anything like that. So yeah, so most everything, shoes, hair, wigs. This show was incredibly makeup heavy. Mary Poppins, it's probably one of the biggest makeup shows we've done here, with the statues and having to do all their stuff, and all those like the scary dolls at the end of Act 1, like they have pretty crazy makeup. The supercalifragilistic number is all glitter and sparkle, and so there's a lot of makeup needs for Mary Poppins that we actually was kind of a new thing here at SRT. We don't normally have to spend quite that much.
And because they're all quick changes,
baby wipes. I don't even want to look at the amount that we spent
I know.
on baby wipes at the end of the run.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's a
Because
lot.
they have to get it off really
Yeah.
fast, so they can't, do cold cream and tissues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to wipe and go.
Yeah, and it's funny because, normally for our purposes, to me a quick change is anything under a minute. Okay, that's a fast change. We got to get it done under a minute. But this, because of the makeup needs, especially those statues that are completely whitening out their faces, they probably have about 5 minutes to get from out of their statue into their next costume. And I'm like, well, that's not very fast. But then when you consider all of the trying to take all of that off and then just be a regular person again, it's really fast. It's very, very fast. So.
The only other thing I wanted to add is, as you can imagine, some of the shows that we do, and I'm thinking White Christmas off the top of my head, but some of the bigger dance numbers, you might have 10 people all wearing the exact same outfit. Well, how do they know which is yours and which is yours and which is mine? And, so every costume has a name tag in it, so they got to provide that. And then each actor has one of these bags here.
That's how we keep things organized.
Yeah, so all of their personal items, their jewelry, whatever goes
Socks
along
on
with
their
all
shirts,
each
their
costume.
shoes can fit in little pockets on the
Yeah.
bottom there.
So everybody gets one of those as well.
Yeah.
It's a huge job here getting those costumes on stage. So.
Where are the costumes right now? Like, I don't see any of her coats and those outfits that wear all these bright colors. Where are they all right now?
Did you go in they're backstage in the dressing rooms in the backstage area of the theater, and there's another, so because this cast is so huge, we have 2 dressing rooms that are backstage, but they only hold about
we
4.
went on only by the men's.
Only by the men, so if you kind of poked your head in there, that's where all of the 4 of the men's costumes are. And then on the opposite side that mirrors that is the women's, and some of their costumes are in there. And then we call it the old rehearsal space, and it's kind of behind the hair salon over here. And so that's where all of our ensemble actors are. I think we probably have about 20 people in there right now.
Yeah.
And it's all curtained off because there's men and women, and so they have dividing curtains, and so all the women are on one side of the curtain, all the men are on the other side of the curtain. And then they go back and forth between that dressing room and the theater space. And that's also why for the show you saw there was it's kind of tarped off behind the theater. When you came out that back door, they also use that area as a dressing space. So
And actually that rack, you probably didn't notice, but that rack is currently living in the men's dressing room bathroom. And because we don't want to leave it outside when the show isn't going, so before the show, the
They
crew
roll
will
it out.
take that out and put it into the little tarp room.
part of their presets. Yeah. So it gets crowded. I mean, you got to walk across the stage, so it gets very, very crowded back there. It's hard to do costume changes with all the scenery.
Who was it that designed those ones that are all those fantastic colors and buttons and
That was
everything?
the costume designer for this show. Her name is Christine Doyle, and she's actually from Atwater, California, so she's not that far from here. And she designed the entire show. One person, between her and Scott, conceptualized and designed the entire picture that you see on stage, and then
sewed all those together?
between her and I and our 7 stitchers,
Yeah.
and the entire shop, we
I'm sure
cut
that
and
one
stitched
bustle that I saw must have took hours.
Oh yeah,
It was beautiful, wasn't it?
yeah. The Mrs. the from Super
Flowers
House.
and, yeah, rick rack and everything.
Oh yeah, that was definitely a labor of love kind of process.
Thank you, Bina.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.